In today's episode, we're diving into the horrifying true stories of 3 people who were eaten alive inside their cars by deadly animals. From an adventurous woman attacked by a jaguar deep in the Amazon rainforest, to a photographer who made the fatal mistake of stepping out of his car in front of a Bengal tiger. But first, let's begin with the story of a young mother who risked it all for the perfect picture. September 15, 2012 began like any other autumn morning at Wild Safari Adventures in Phoenix, Arizona. The temperature had already climbed to 85 degrees by 9 a.m., promising another scorching day in the desert. The park, known for its unique drive-through experience, allowed visitors to observe exotic animals from the safety of their vehicles, or at least that's what the brochure promised. African lions are among nature's most impressive predators. Males can weigh up to 550 pounds and measure up to 10 feet in length from nose to tail. Their powerful jaws can generate a bite force of up to 1,000 pounds per square inch, easily crushing bones and tearing through metal. In the wild, lions are known for their strategic hunting abilities, often working in groups to take down prey much larger than themselves. Their muscular build allows them to leap up to 36 feet horizontally and reach speeds of up to 35 miles per hour in short bursts. Sarah Mitchell, 58, had always been fascinated by big cats. Growing up in suburban Tucson, she spent countless hours watching nature documentaries and sketching lions, tigers, and cheetahs. Her passion led her to earn a degree in zoology from Arizona State University, which she later applied to a successful career as a wildlife illustrator and conservation educator. Even after retirement, her love for animals never faded. She volunteered at local animal shelters, gave educational talks about conservation, and made annual donations to big cat protection efforts. That morning, Sarah decided to celebrate her birthday by visiting Wild Safari Adventures with her adult daughter Emma and her younger sister Jennifer Cooper, 52. The park had recently acquired a new male lion, Zeus, a 7-year-old 520-pound African lion transferred from a facility in South Africa. The massive predator had quickly become the park's star attraction, drawing visitors from across the state. Sarah's silver Honda CR-V joined the line of vehicles entering the park at 9:45 a.m. The family had been excited about the trip for weeks, particularly Emma, who had grown up sharing her mother's admiration for big cats. They followed the prescribed route through various enclosures, observing zebras, giraffes, and other African wildlife. The park's rules were clear. Windows must remain closed, doors locked, and vehicles must stay on the marked path. At 10:17 a.m., they entered the lion enclosure. Zeus was visible immediately, his magnificent mane catching the morning sun as he lounged near an artificial watering hole. Sarah slowed the vehicle to take photos, positioning the CR-V about 30 feet from the massive predator. Emma leaned forward from the back seat, watching in quiet awe. What happened next would later be pieced together through security footage and witness accounts. The air conditioning in Sarah's vehicle had been struggling against the Arizona heat, and in an attempt to let some air in, she partially lowered her window no more than 3 inches to get a clear photo. It was a decision that would prove fatal. Zeus, who had appeared disinterested moments before, suddenly focused on their vehicle. Lions possess incredibly acute senses, capable of detecting movement from over 600 feet away and hearing prey from a mile distant. The slight sounds of the electric window and the scent of potential prey instantly triggered his hunting instincts. The attack came with explosive speed. Zeus covered the 30-foot distance in seconds, his powerful muscles launching his massive frame directly at Sarah's partially open window. His claws found purchase in the small gap, and with one powerful wrench, he tore the window mechanism completely free. The safety glass shattered, raining down into the vehicle's interior. Sarah gasped and tried to roll up the window, only to realize it was no longer there. Zeus's massive paw swiped through the opening, catching her shoulder and yanking her toward the window. Jennifer, seated in the passenger seat, desperately grabbed her sister's arm, trying to pull her back, while Emma's horrified screams filled the vehicle. The lion's powerful jaws clamped onto Sarah's upper arm, crushing bone and muscle with terrifying force. Park rangers monitoring through security cameras immediately dispatch emergency response teams, but they were still 3 minutes away. In those crucial moments, Zeus managed to drag Sarah halfway out of the vehicle window, his powerful jaws clamping down as he pulled. Her sister clung desperately to her legs, the only thing keeping her from being yanked completely free. Shattered glass from the broken window sliced deep into Sarah's neck and arms, opening a jagged wound along her throat. Blood soaked the door panel as she thrashed against the lion's grip, her screams mixing with Jennifer's panicked sobs. In the back seat, Emma pressed herself against the door, frozen in terror, hands clamped over her mouth as she watched in horror. When the response team arrived at 10:22 a.m., they found Zeus had maintained his grip on Sarah, who had lost consciousness from massive blood loss and trauma. The team used high-pressure water hoses and flashbang devices to drive the lion away, but the damage was catastrophic. Despite immediate medical attention and being airlifted to Banner University Medical Center, Sarah Mitchell was pronounced dead at 11:05 a.m. The autopsy revealed the extent of her injuries: a completely crushed right shoulder and upper arm with bone fragments driven into her chest cavity. The force of Zeus's bite had severed her brachial artery, leading to fatal blood loss. Jagged shards of window glass had inflicted a catastrophic injury to her throat, severing her carotid artery and further accelerating her decline. Additional injuries included 4 broken ribs and deep lacerations across her chest and neck. The incident led to immediate changes in safari park protocols across the country. In response, Wild Safari Adventures temporarily closed for 3 months to implement stricter safety measures. The park introduced mandatory reinforced window coverings for all visitor vehicles, completely prohibited open windows, and installed emergency call stations throughout the drive-through area. Additionally, trained rangers were stationed at key points along the route for faster intervention, and new automated warning systems were put in place to detect and alert staff if a vehicle stopped unexpectedly. Zeus was relocated to a secure facility in Texas, where he remains today, never again to interact with the public. This tragic event served as a grim reminder that even the smallest mistake, like cracking open a window, can have deadly consequences. But in our next story, there was no open window. Instead, a passionate photographer made an even deadlier mistake, opening his door in front of a Bengal tiger. Let's dive in to see how this ends. August 15, 2006 began like any other sweltering morning at Sundabaran's Tiger Reserve in West Bengal, India. The air was thick with humidity, and by 9 a.m. the temperatures had already climbed to 90 degrees Fahrenheit. For 52-year-old Arun Chatterjee, a photographer from Mumbai, it was the perfect day for an adventure, one that would tragically be his last. Arun had always been passionate about travel and photography, using every opportunity to explore India's most breathtaking landscapes. Born and raised in a middle-class family in Mumbai, he had spent decades working in commercial photography, capturing everything from cityscapes to cultural festivals. But his true love was wildlife photography, a hobby that had taken him across India in search of the perfect shot. Tigers in particular had always fascinated him, though his experience with them had been limited to guided safaris and nature documentaries. When Arun arrived at Sundabaran's Tiger Reserve, he was eager to get up close with India's most iconic predator, the Bengal tiger. He had invested in high-end camera equipment and was determined to capture something truly breathtaking. His wife Malini had warned him to be careful, but Arun wasn't concerned. He had been on safaris before, and as long as he followed the rules, he saw no reason to worry. But what he didn't realize was that the Sundabarans was unlike anywhere he had been before. And that morning, one particular tiger was waiting, a 470-pound predator named Agniban, who had been growing more aggressive by the day. The Bengal tiger is one of nature's most perfect killing machines. Adults can weigh up to 500 pounds, with males being significantly larger than females. Their powerful jaws can generate a bite force of 1,050 pounds per square inch, strong enough to crush a wild boar's skull. These apex predators can sprint at speeds reaching 40 miles per hour, and their retractable claws measuring up to 4 inches in length can disembowel prey with a single swipe. In the wild, Bengal tigers are known to hunt prey much larger than humans, including buffalo and even young elephants. At 9:45 a.m., Arun entered the Sundabarans Tiger Reserve Safari Zone in a rented Mahindra Scorpio, eager to photograph the region's famous Bengal tigers. The 1,235-acre reserve allowed visitors to drive through designated enclosures, following strict guidelines to remain inside their vehicles. Despite multiple warning signs stating "stay inside vehicle" in both English and Bengali, Arun was more focused on getting the perfect shot than on safety protocols. With his duffel bag of camera equipment beside him, he navigated the winding dirt roads, unaware that his eagerness for a better view would soon put him in deadly proximity to one of the reserve's most dangerous tigers. Agnaban, a 12-year-old male Bengal tiger weighing 470 pounds, had been displaying unusual behavior that morning. The massive cat had skipped his morning feeding, something the forest rangers had noted but hadn't considered serious enough to close his enclosure. Park records would later show that Agnaban had been increasingly aggressive in recent weeks, charging at vehicles more frequently than usual. At 10:03 a.m., Arun's vehicle entered Agnaban's territory. The morning heat had left most tigers lethargic, but Agnaban was active, pacing near the tree line. Security footage shows Arun's Scorpio slowing to a stop approximately 30 feet from the tiger. Seeing an opportunity for a good shot, he remained inside his vehicle, positioning his camera through the open window while keeping his duffel bag on the passenger seat. For several minutes, Arun focused on capturing the tiger, switching between lenses in his bag. As he adjusted his framing, he realized he needed his zoom lens for a closer shot. He rummaged through the duffel bag, checking every compartment before noticing it wasn't inside. It was in the trunk. He considered reaching back for it, but quickly realized the Scorpio's compact interior and rear storage divider made it impossible to access from the front. The only way to get to it was to step outside. He hesitated, glancing between the trunk and the tiger, which was still pacing near the brush. The safest choice was to stay inside, but the shot would be better with the zoom lens. And he was already here. Finally, he made his decision. Opening the door, he stepped out and closed it behind him. Moving cautiously, he kept an eye on Agnaban as he walked to the trunk. The tiger remained near the brush, uninterested, or so it seemed. Arun quickly retrieved the lens, attached it to his camera, and took a few more shots before deciding he had what he needed. With his focus back on his equipment, he turned away from the tiger and started back toward the driver's seat. Just as he reached for the door handle, the attack came. Agnaban lunged, covering the distance in seconds. Arun barely had time to react before the tiger's massive paw slammed into his back, throwing him against the side of the vehicle. The sharp crack of bone meeting metal echoed through the clearing as he collapsed against the car. His duffel bag still sat undisturbed on the passenger seat, but the zoom lens he had stepped out for no longer mattered. Arun barely had time to roll over before Agnaban struck again. The tiger's massive claws raked across his chest, tearing through fabric and skin with ease. As he tried to crawl backward, Agnaban clamped his jaws around Arun's upper arm, crushing bone and muscle instantly. Arun grabbed the door handle with his free hand, struggling to pull himself up, but Agnaban yanked again, wrenching his body away from the vehicle. His legs kicked up dust, his heels dragging trenches in the dirt as the tiger hauled him toward the tree line. The grip shifted, Agnaban's powerful jaws closing around the base of his neck. The attack lasted only seconds. The moment Agnaban disappeared into the dense undergrowth, the jungle fell silent. By the time park rangers arrived, only his shattered camera and deep claw marks in the dirt remained. Park rangers responded within minutes, alerted by a motion-activated security camera monitoring the enclosure, which detected sudden movement near Arun's vehicle. At first, they assumed he had simply stepped out to adjust his equipment, but when the footage showed Augnaban charging and taking him to the ground, they immediately dispatched a response team. However, rescuing Arun proved impossible. By the time rangers arrived, Augnaban had already dragged him into the undergrowth, his massive frame obscured by the dense foliage. The tiger remained close to the attack site, circling the area with tense territorial aggression. When rangers attempted to approach it in their vehicle, Augnaban bared his teeth, growling and swiping at the ground, a clear warning to stay back. It took 3 tranquilizer darts and 27 minutes before Augnaban finally retreated into the undergrowth, allowing rangers to approach the attack site. By then, there was nothing they could do. Arun had already sustained catastrophic blood loss. The initial bite had severed his subclavian artery, and the trauma from multiple deep lacerations and crushed bone had left no chance of survival. His body was recovered and transported to SSKM Hospital in Kolkata, where he was officially pronounced dead at 11:42 a.m. The autopsy revealed the devastating extent of Augnaban's attack. Arun had sustained compound fractures to his left shoulder and upper arm, with deep bite marks penetrating to the bone. The force of the initial impact against the vehicle had caused severe bruising and internal injuries, while Augnaban's claws had torn through his chest and abdomen, leaving deep lacerations. The final bite, which crushed his neck and severed his spinal cord, ensured that the attack was fatal within moments. Sundabaran's Tiger Reserve faced intense scrutiny following the incident. Investigations revealed that Augnaban had displayed aggressive behavior toward vehicles several times in the month leading up to the attack, yet no additional safety measures had been implemented. The reserve was fined 50 million rupees for negligence and was temporarily closed for safety reviews. Augnaban was relocated to a specialized wildlife sanctuary in Maharashtra, where he lived out his remaining years without further incident. Arun's death led to stricter safety protocols in wildlife parks across India, including mandatory window locks and enhanced barrier systems between vehicles and animals. His son, Dr. Arbajit Chatterjee, honored his father's legacy by supporting wildlife conservation efforts and advocating for improved safety measures in wildlife research and tourism. Arun's final photographs, recovered from his camera, were later published, serving as a haunting reminder that even decades of experience can't always protect against the unpredictable power of nature's most fearsome predators. But Arun wasn't the only one to make a fatal miscalculation. In our final story, we travel to the dense rainforest of Brazil, where 62-year-old Carla Mendoza unknowingly parked her vehicle between a mother jaguar and her hunting grounds, setting the stage for a terrifying encounter. September 15, 2011 began like any other day in the lush rainforest near Manaus, Brazil. The afternoon sun filtered through the dense canopy, creating dappled shadows that would soon turn into a nightmare for 62-year-old wildlife photographer Carla Mendoza. The temperature had climbed to 91 degrees, with suffocating humidity typical of the Amazon basin during the dry season. Born to a middle-class family in Sao Paulo, Carla had always been drawn to nature's raw beauty. Her father, Miguel Mendoza, a biology teacher at the prestigious Colegio Sao Paulo, would take her on weekend expeditions to local parks, nurturing a passion that would eventually become her career. After earning a degree in environmental photography from the University of Sao Paulo in 1982, Carla spent nearly 3 decades documenting South Africa's diverse wildlife for National Geographic and various conservation organizations. Her work had earned her numerous awards. The jaguar is the largest cat species in the Americas and the 3rd largest in the world. These powerful predators can reach lengths of up to 6 feet, not including their tail, and weigh up to 300 pounds. Their bite force is the strongest of any big cat, approximately 2,000 pounds per square inch, enough to crush a turtle shell or pierce the thick skull of a caiman. Jaguars are excellent swimmers and climbers, making them perfectly adapted to the diverse landscapes of the Amazon rainforest. Unlike many big cats, they kill their prey with a unique technique: a powerful bite directly to the skull or back of the neck, often piercing directly into the brain. Female jaguars with cubs are particularly dangerous, as their protective instincts override their usual tendency to avoid human contact. At 2:45 p.m., Carla set out in her modified 2008 Toyota Land Cruiser, equipped with specialized camera mounts and reinforced windows. The vehicle had been her home away from home for the past 3 years, customized with a reinforced steel cage, satellite communication system, and emergency medical supplies. She was heading to a remote area of the rainforest where recent jaguar sightings had been reported by local guide Paulo Santos, a man who had worked with Carla on numerous projects over the past decade. Her destination was a clearing approximately 25 miles from the main road, where Paulo and his team had spotted a female jaguar with 2 cubs the previous week. The area was known locally as Jaguar's Haven due to its proximity to both water sources and prey animals. At 4:17 p.m., Carla reached the clearing. The humidity had risen to 85%, making the air thick and visibility challenging through the vehicle's windows. She positioned her Land Cruiser near a small stream, knowing that jaguars often followed waterways when hunting. What Carla didn't realize was that she had inadvertently positioned her vehicle between a female jaguar and her preferred hunting ground. The cat, later identified by researchers as Luna based on her distinctive spot patterns, was a particularly large specimen weighing approximately 220 pounds. She had been tracking a group of capybara when Carla's vehicle interrupted her hunt. At 5:23 p.m., the attack came without warning. Luna launched herself at the driver's side of the vehicle. Her powerful frame slammed against the reinforced window with enough force to create spiderweb cracks across its surface. The impact was so violent it rocked the entire Land Cruiser. Carla, startled by the sudden attack, immediately dropped her $12,000 camera and attempted to start the engine. The key turned, but in her panic, she had forgotten to press the clutch, causing the engine to stall. Luna, unlike most big cats that might retreat after an initial failed attack, persisted with frightening determination. She circled the vehicle, her muscular body tense with predatory focus, occasionally rising on her hind legs to slam against the windows. The reinforced glass, designed to withstand normal wildlife encounters, began to fail under the repeated impacts of her 2,000-pound PSI bite force. At 5:27 p.m., the driver's side window finally gave way with a deafening crash. Luna's massive paw, armed with retractable claws capable of tearing through thick hide, swiped through the opening. Her claws caught Carla's left shoulder, pulling her toward the shattered window. The force of her grip was enough to tear through her heavy photography vest and into the muscle beneath. With one powerful movement, she pulled her halfway through the window, shards of safety glass cutting into her torso. Her jaws clamped down on her neck, employing the same killing technique used on caimans and capybaras. The bite force crushed her cervical vertebrae, severing her spinal cord instantly. Park rangers discovered the scene during their routine evening patrol of the area at 6:45 p.m. Guide Paulo Santos had become concerned when Carla missed her scheduled radio check-in at 6 p.m. and had notified the ranger station. Lead Ranger Marco Oliveira and his team found the scene horrifically preserved in the fading daylight. Carla's body was partially dragged from the vehicle, with characteristic jaguar bites to the base of the skull. The attack site showed signs of a brief but violent struggle, with blood spatter indicating Luna had attempted to drag her body into the undergrowth. Dr. Maria Fernandez, the chief medical examiner at Manaus Central Hospital, conducted the autopsy the following morning. Her report revealed that death had been almost instantaneous. Luna's bite had severed Carla's spinal cord between the C3 and C4 vertebrae, causing immediate paralysis and death. Additional wounds included deep claw marks across her shoulders and chest, a crushed larynx from the initial bite, and defensive wounds on her hands and forearms. The investigation revealed that Luna's cubs were in a den just 100 feet from the attack site, explaining her aggressive behavior. The incident led to sweeping changes in safety protocols, including mandatory armed escorts for photographers working in known jaguar territories and stricter vehicle safety requirements. The news of Carla's death devastated both her family and the wildlife photography community. Her daughter Elena, also a photographer, led efforts to improve safety standards for wildlife photographers working in dangerous environments. The local indigenous communities who had often guided Carla through the rainforest held a traditional ceremony in her honor, recognizing her years of work documenting their land and its wildlife. The Brazilian Wildlife Photography Association established new safety protocols in response to the incident, requiring all photographers to carry emergency beacons, travel with armed guides, and use vehicles with regularly inspected safety features. These regulations have since become standard practice throughout South America's wildlife photography industry. Today, a small memorial stands at the entrance to Jaguar's Haven, serving as a stark reminder that even with modern technology and decades of experience, nature's apex predators command respect and caution. The incident fundamentally changed how wildlife photographers approach their work in jaguar territory, emphasizing safety over proximity and caution over convenience. However, that warning didn't reach everyone. Thanks for watching. If you're fascinated by these unbelievable encounters between humans and wildlife, don't miss our next video, where we discuss the 3 most horrifying circus attacks ever recorded. Click ahead and we'll see you there.